All right, guys, so everybody struggles at some point or another getting stuck. That club kind of gets stuck behind your body. You feel like the face is wide open or pointing to the right. If we're looking at my little angle finder here, if I put that on the club face, it's almost like that club face can never square up and we're just blocking to the right. Everything we do to try to fix that, we just block even more. Or if we do fix it, we hit this snap hook. So what is it that's actually causing the club to get stuck in behind our body? It's actually very counterintuitive to what you might think. So the old methodology, and I'll be honest, I had the wrong perception of this for a very long time. I've always been told, and I was taught, to keep the club in front of your body. So the more I can keep my hands and arms in front of my body, the more I can keep this club kind of working down back in front of me, the easier it's going to be to stop from getting stuck. Now the problem with that is, as this club starts to work back in front, oftentimes it's going to be a little steep in the early transition. And what happens is, if you draw a line from the shaft of this club pointing down toward the ground, we're going to see that's well inside the golf ball. We're all good athletes, and your body knows, I can't just keep swinging down in that line or I'm going to hit way in here inside the golf ball. So being the good athlete that you are, and the fact that we don't whiff all of them, by trying to keep that club in front, what ends up happening is your body says, uh-oh, I got to change here, and it starts to shallow that club out late. When that happens, now all the momentum of the club is opening up. Look at the club face as that's happening. As that club starts to shallow out, watch this club face, it starts to open up and point to the right. And as you swing on through, now we have that block out to the right. If we try to compensate, so now we're a little bit steeper, the club's wanting to shallow out, and all of a sudden we say, uh-oh, it's too open. Now we have to slam it closed, and now the face is pointing way to the left. So it requires a ton of hand-eye coordination, a ton of timing to get this right. If we try to keep that club kind of working in front of our body, if our hands and club are here, what we actually need to do is to get that club to shallow out. Now, when we do this early in the transition, we shallow that club out, it gets on a flatter angle, and as my hands pull down, look what happens to that club face. It actually wants to kick back in front of my body, and the club face actually wants to square up. So it's a two-piece move here. If we really want to get this correct, piece number one, we're going to shallow that club out by bowing my wrist slightly. Now, this works with irons, it works with driver, and it doesn't have to be bowed like Dustin Johnson. It just needs to be flat. If this wrist is cupped, it wants to do this. That wrist starts to flatten out a little bit, it wants to lay back. That's piece number one. Piece number two is I have to square up my wrist by turning the forearms, just like I'm turning a doorknob to the left. So that wrist stays bowed, and that wrist turns to the left. That's kind of like if you're throwing a frisbee. That's action. So your wrist is bowed the entire time and it turns left. That squares up the face. So now take a look at this club face. Let's get the magnet back on here again. I've bowed my wrist to flatten it out. As I come down, that squares up the club face. And the second piece also with that, as you're squaring up that face, is you rotate your body on through. If my body stops, my club flips past my hands, and I really start to cut my left wrist, and I'm going to end up hitting that ball really, really high. So piece number one, get this wrist to flatten out. Flat or bowed is great. Piece number two, rotate and square up that wrist. That's going to get you in this nice forward shaft lean angle, the club face pointing right down the target line. And as long as I keep turning, I'm going to hit some great shots from that position. So what I'd recommend doing, let's go ahead and hit about 10 or 15 or swing about 10 or 15 times, or even longer if it takes you. Bow it out, kind of pause. Now rotate and turn at the same time. That's going to square up that face. As you're doing this, go ahead and brush the turf. I don't want to go ahead and swing a foot off the ground doing practice swings like this, and then when I go to hit the ball, I'll do something totally different. Go ahead and square up that face, brush the turf, and make some practice swings. Do as many as it takes you to get comfortable with that. There's no set number of reps, but I'd recommend at least 10 to 30 reps just to get more comfortable. Once you feel like you're nice and comfortable, let's go ahead and hit a couple golf shots doing this, and you're going to see that nice low penetrating ball flight. That ball is going to sound really crisp if you're doing this correctly. All right, guys, we've got this move starting to shallow out this club to help us from keep getting stuck, but there's one more piece of this. We have to keep on rotating, as we mentioned, and release the club in front. That's what we call the straight line release in the Top Speed golf system. I have an awesome bonus that's going to help you to do this, to get those hips more open, to get that club releasing in front so you don't even have to worry about the ball. The ball's just getting in the way. I'm going to play a preview of that video. You go ahead and just click the card up on your screen or the link down below in your description, in the description below this video, and you'll get instant access to this video. Man, when you pair those two things together, that's going to make it really easy. Best of luck shallowing that club. Best of luck releasing that in front. Let's go ahead and get started. The misconception I see is that we want to create lag and we just want to hold that lag all the way on through contact and get as much lag as we can coming through contact, and that's simply not true. In the release section, we're going to talk about how to turn that lag into energy, how to turn that into speed so that you can hit it very far and do it, like we mentioned, without hardly any effort at all. And as we're coming through contact, we're going to fully release this angle as we're about 45 past contact. So if I draw, a 45-degree angle, I should be looking at both arms, nice and straight, the club splitting those arms, so that by releasing the club, by getting this angle to release as we're coming through contact, that's what's going to create the speed. Our hands are moving a very short distance, our club is moving a very long distance through contact, and it creates that whip-like effect.
Very different swings hitting the exact same position. So first let's take a look at Dustin Johnson releasing the club 45 past. And the reason we're going to see such different swings producing similar positions is that this is the real physics of how this has to happen. Here we're looking at Sergio Garcia. Again, we're going to see tons